Okay, so we've got to the stage where we're now ready to make our soaps. This is going to serve as one of the product launch series, but I'm also going to be introducing the soaps that I am going to launch at the end of August. So this will be the making of the first one, and I just need to get my room a little bit more tidy and GMP compliant before we go ahead. But we've done our labels, we've done our CPSRs, we've done all of those things, and once this launch is complete, you'll be able to view the entire product launch series of everything I've had to do in order to get ready for making and selling these soaps. I've been making these in small batches because when you first launch something, you don't want to go all in and do loads and loads and loads, because even with me being on YouTube and having had small businesses for years and years and years, I still might not sell anything when I launch. And it's better to keep the launch small and see how that does, and then you can increase it over time. So I'm only doing 10 bars of each. There'll be 7 different soaps in total, 10 bars of each of those, and those will be available to the UK and the USA on the 30th of August at 5 PM UK time. So if you want one, you'll need to be quick and grab one then. It doesn't mean that I won't make them again, but I'm going to try and do different scents, different designs each month or each launch. So if you see something you want, grab it, because I don't know when I'll make it available again. But anyway, I'm going to finish tidying this room and then we'll make the first one so that you can see what I'm on about. Okay, so let's have a quick look at things. So I've just done all my washing up. That needs to now dry in the air, and then I will sterilise that using Milton sterilising tablets, and then allow that to air dry, and then I will sanitise them with isopropyl alcohol, and then that's going to be all ready to use in order to make my soap. So this is just kind of a station where I keep some bits and pieces. I'm going to prepare all my lye in advance for each batch and put it in these little suitable containers. You need to make sure that they've got the right recycling number on the bottom. HDPE is fine for lye, so that'll go in there. I'm going to prepare my oils and let them cool and put them in these buckets ready to use. Then you need to get yourself a bin. I've got one for recycling and one for general waste. I've got my table. I've got my camera set up and my new light, which makes all the difference. And then I have my packing station over here, ready for if you guys want to actually order anything. I've got my ingredients for soap making are here, because I want to keep them separate from my YouTube ingredients, which are over there, because I just like having fresh ingredients every time I make new batches of things, and it just helps to keep the two inventories separate. And then I've got my new curing rack trolley. So now we're all organised, we're cleaned down with a proper disinfectant cleaner, and we've sanitised the workstation. I'm going to get all my ingredients ready for tomorrow and do my batch sheets. Okay, so I'm doing my batch sheet, and the first thing I'll do is record all of my ingredients and everything about my batch in the batch sheet before I even make a thing. So my first soap, this is what we're making today, and you put in the product, so that's cold processed soap, and I'm going to be making a lemon meringue one. That's the first in my range. The product code is the code that I'm giving to my formula. This won't change unless any ingredients or the formula change, so that'll always be the same every time I make a batch. Then I'll put the date I made the batch, and then the date I expect it to cure by. You can leave this blank and fill it in once it has cured if you prefer, but I've done a lot of stability on this, so I can guess based on that. The use by date or period after opening, I'm putting 6 months because I find scent fades after a while, so it's best used within this time frame, though the soap will be good for 30 months or more. And then ingredients and batch numbers. So you don't need to put your quantities here or anything, but you do need all of your ingredients. So I haven't listed them by INCI. that doesn't matter in the batch sheet. I just need to be able to identify them, the supplier, and then I will put the batch number after each one, which will be available either on the packet of the ingredient that you've purchased, on your invoice, or by contacting the supplier directly. So you'd put that in there. And then I'd associate my own batch number to the finished batch of products that I make. So I'll do that once this is all completed. And then the quantity in the batch, which will be how many I get out of the batch. So if I'm making a soap loaf, it generally makes about 10 bars. So that'll go in there. And then I'll complete this for every single soap that I'm going to make in my range. And then we can get making, knowing that that is happily done. Everything's traceable. So if there's any problem with any ingredient, if there's recalls on any ingredient, if a customer has a problem, you have complete traceability for your product that you've made. Just a quick additional note, if when you receive a product it doesn't come with a batch number, so this has got the CAS number, the EC number, where it's from, but there is nothing on it to indicate a batch number. So what I then do is I use my little ticker tape, or you can get some kind of labelling that isn't going to rub off, and just use the ticker tape to put the date and then use that as a batch number, and then you can put that in your batch record sheet. You get this with fragrance suppliers sometimes. They say that their fragrances are good for 24 months after purchase, in which case as soon as you receive it, assign it your own batch number, and with that I'd always make it the date, and then you know exactly when you purchased it so that you can calculate how long you've had it. So that's just my advice if you don't have a batch number on products. Once you filled that all in, just make sure that you save it. I like to save it as a Word document or Pages document, and then also as a PDF, and make sure you save it to a couple of places so that you don't lose it, or you can even print it if you want to and then keep that in your PIF. So now I've done my batch sheets, the next job is to melt down all my oils and prepare my lye and get it all in the buckets and the jugs and leave that to cool, ready to make soap tomorrow. And the reason I'm doing it this way is because it just makes life a lot easier if you're really organised and you have everything ready to go, because it is a lot to get everything melted and cooled and clear up and everything and then make soap in the same day. So I just like to get all of my ingredients weighed out and ready, and then I'll cover them once they've cooled down and just leave them until tomorrow. So all that I need to do is just pop everything into a bucket and emulsify it and put it in a mould. So I've got everything I need for the first 3, which I'm going to film tomorrow. These are the ones I'm going to show you in this video. So let's skip to tomorrow and watch me make it. Okay, so I have a bucket with my melted butters and oils, and to that I'm adding kaolin clay because this gives a nice creamy feel to the bar, so I always love to add it. And then I'm just going to stick blend that to make sure that it's all combined thoroughly and there's no lumps left. I'm just burping the stick blender here. This gets rid of any air bubbles at the bottom. They all come to the surface so you don't end up with a bubbly, uneven bar. Now I've got the lye that you saw I was going to prepare earlier, and I've put them in these jerry cans. I did have to warm it up slightly because I melted the oils this morning so that the temperatures were sort of around the same as each other, but I like to work at around 40 degrees C because this helps to prevent false trace, and it's also quite a nice working temperature for most fragrances and acceleration and things like that. So I've added my lye, just going to burp my stick blender again and then emulsify this to give sort of like a medium thin trace, because I am going to be blending this a lot more with the colours and additives that I'm adding. Once I've got the medium trace, you can see this has thickened up quite a lot because I do have a lot of hard oils and butters in my recipe. So we want to keep the batter moving and keep it fluid. If you keep it moving, it helps to keep it fluid. I do want to stick blend the fragrance in because I want to ensure that it is thoroughly combined and that we don't get pockets of fragrance. Stirring it by hand, you can do this, but I do tend to stick blend it as well, just to make sure that it is dispersed evenly. And then I'm going to pour off a little bit in here. This is going to be a bit for our base. This is a lemon meringue soap, like you saw on my batch sheet earlier. And then pour a little bit off here for the topping that we're going to do later. So for the base, I'm using brushed bronze mica from the soapery, and then for the topping, just some titanium dioxide mixed with oil. Both of these are mixed with a little bit of oil from the oil batch that I melted earlier. And I'm just going to stick blend that to make sure that it's dispersed evenly, because otherwise you end up with little pockets of unmixed powder, which isn't great. To that, I'm going to add some jojoba seed powder, and this will give it kind of a biscuit base kind of look, I'm hoping. A little bit of texture, and it'll also be nice and exfoliating when you use the bar. And we're just going to pour this straight into the mould, and this will be around about 1 inch thick to act as the base for our lemon meringue pie. And we'll just leave this to set a little bit. We want to make sure it doesn't jiggle in the mould so that we can add our next layer without it breaking through. Next, I'm going to prepare the middle layer. So I'm going to add my sunflower yellow from the soapery. This is mixed with a tiny bit of titanium dioxide, and that goes in the main batch. And then I'm going to pour a little bit of this off into another container because I want a very slight swirl in this middle. So I'm going to add a little bit more titanium dioxide to that, and then I'll pour it into the main bucket for a sort of in the pot swirl of two very similar yellow shades, but it just gives a little bit of texture to the middle and just makes it a little bit more interesting when the finished bar is done. And then because this is an in the pot swirl, I can just pour it directly on here. It's really hard to get a good angle for you guys when you're using a bucket and a very small mould, but like I said, these are small batches at the moment, so I'm sorry. Once I start doing bigger batches, which hopefully will happen, you should be able to see better then, but you get the idea. I'm not going to save any of this for the top, so I'm going to scrape out the bucket completely and make sure that I get all of this into the mould, and then just tidy around the sides. And then we just need to let that set up a little bit so it doesn't jiggle, shaking the mould down to make sure that all the air bubbles are out. While that sets up a little, I'm going to prepare the topping. You saw me add some titanium dioxide, and I am going to stick blend this even more. Titanium dioxide can thicken your batter, but I do want this to be quite thick because I want the overall texture on top to look like it's whipped cream. And then I'm just going to pour this on, and I'm not going to texture it really, I'm just going to pretty much keep it how it falls because it looks more authentic, like cream, the kind of meringue creamy topping that you'd get on a lemon meringue pie, which is obviously what we're going for. Again, shake that down just to get rid of any air bubbles. And then I've got this melt and pour. I used Stevenson's SLS free clear melt and pour and coloured it with a little bit of sunflower yellow mica. And then I let that set, and then I shaved bits off with a vegetable peeler to make these little curls which are supposed to look like lemon peel, which I think turned out quite cool. So I'm going to add these to the top just as something to decorate it with. And then we're pretty much done, and we can leave this to set for 18 to 24 hours and then come back and cut it. And I cannot wait to cut this bar. So here it is the next day. Let's unmold it and see what it looks like. And I am so pleased. Those layers turned out exactly as I wanted them, and the smell coming from this bar, if you've ever had a lemon meringue pie, it smells exactly the same, like exactly. Yes, don't eat it though, please. It's really, really lovely. So I'm going to turn it on its side because I want as few of the topping to fall off as possible, and I don't want drag marks inside the bar if I can help it. And just line it up. We get 10 bars out of these, so there will only be 10 available. If you want one, you'll need to be on the site Friday the 30th of August at 5 p.m. UK time or 12 noon Eastern Standard Time to grab one, because I have a feeling these ones may go the fastest. But let's look at the inside and see how these turned out. And I am so happy with that. The biscuit base looks great with that jojoba seed powder. The slight swirl inside with the different yellows has turned out really nice. And the topping, it just looks like meringue, and the smell of it is incredible. I'm so pleased with these bars. If you want to release your own range of soaps or another cosmetic or skincare product, then I have included these in a full series I've done. It's my product launch series, and it takes you from concept to launch, all the different steps you need to do in the UK in order to be legally compliant and do your stability testing and where to get everything and how to do everything, and it just takes you through it all step by step to help you guys out. So if you're confused as to the processes and you want to do this yourself, then I suggest going and checking that out. I've linked it in the description so that you can follow that and launch your own products and hopefully be nice and successful. So I hope it helps you. This bar is one of 7 designs that I'm doing for this first launch, and there'll be 10 bars of each different design, and I've been basically trying them out for about over a year and a half, testing these fragrances out, testing designs out, seeing what works, and I'm really pleased with how this turned out. Like, this is exactly how I wanted it, and I love that they're quite low profile, but the top still looks like wavy and like meringue, and those little lemon peel shavings, like, they look quite cool, and they're not uncomfortable, because I hate when you get a soap bar and it's got stuff on top that's really spiky and it really hurts to use, but these are really soft and it feels really nice. So I really hope you guys are going to love this bar. Remember that the launch is August the 30th, 2024, 5 p.m. UK time or noon EST. And if and when I can make them available to the EU and other countries, I will, but for now, because of regulations, it just has to be the UK and the USA, so I hope you understand. Until the next video, which will be the second soap in my launch, which I hope you enjoy as well, I'm going to say thank you very much for watching. Thanks for coming along this journey with me. There's more information in the description about the launch, so go and check that out. But thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much to all my patrons. If you want not this soap formula, but I have some other soap formulas on my Patreon, that's linked below as well, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.